Heaven, hi. Welcome. Welcome to Inside of a Miracle. I'm your host, Sheila Martin Askew, and we are going to get right into now part three, which is probably going to be a four-part um, testimony. There's just so much that I am compacting. When I normally tell it on television or in different places that I travel, it's 2 hours, 2.5 hours, or whatever. But I am definitely wanting to make sure that you get the whole um, Cliff Note version with some details of this resurrection story. As I said in episodes 1 and 2, which you can go back and look at that, I am sharing what happened to me in 1977. Easter has just passed a few weeks ago, and that is about the resurrection story of Jesus, where people all over the world celebrate that. And so I just felt prompted, and then I was encouraged by other people. Why don't you just share your story? Um, we would like to hear it again. And so, um, episode 1, I shared how I had a heart attack in 1977 when I was a 19-year-old missionary. I was doing mission work in the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. I was there for about 6 months before I took a furlough leave. Went to visit some friends in Virginia where my parents lived and my siblings. And these people were supporters of my ministry. And so I went to visit them to just give them thanks for all of their um, sacrificial giving to help me in the ministry with buying equipment and music equipment and books and things for the churches that I had started. And by that time, it was about 2 churches. Went to visit them. When they opened the door, I fell through the floor. I fell on their floor in their foyer. They grabbed me and put me into the kitchen. Ambulance came, paramedics came. They um, took me to the hospital. I was pronounced dead on arrival at the emergency room, so they eventually put me into the morgue. And then I shared about me being in the morgue and all of that craziness that happened. You'll have to get last episodes. It was, and I just get last episodes. And so I ended last week with me coming out of the morgue, um, with all of that hoopla and chaos and everything, and waking up to hearing beep, 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 the sound of my heart monitor. Now, let me say this. I had a massive heart attack. This is what they said. They don't even know how that happened. My heart exploded in my body to the point that the x-ray shows that it was ripped apart, like just burst open, imploded. People don't have that at a young age. I've had no heart disease in my family. They don't even know what that happened, but me neither. But I'm waking up, coming to after they had put something in my back, I guess to calm me out. And when I came to beep, 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 which was my heart monitor. The very heart that had exploded that should not be working is beeping. Really. You talk about miracles? I believe in miracles. And so as I'm sitting there, um, my mother, as I'm laying in this room. As I said last week, I'm just going to recap and go on forward. I'm laying there in this hospital bed, dimly lit room, and my heart monitor is going on. And I'm hooked up to so many little things on my arms. Over my head is just one little lamp light that's part of the wall, I guess, and I'm underneath. The bed is tucked up underneath that light. And the room is dimly lit, and then at the corner of my bed is my mother. And I'm looking at her, and I'm coming to, and just totally out of sorts, just discombobulated, just confused. And I'm saying, "Mommy, what happened? What's going on?" I can tell that she had been crying. Her eyes were puffy, and she just took my hand and she just said, "It's okay, honey. It's okay." And I'm saying, "But Mom, what's wrong? What happened?" And she just started crying. And so now my heart is racing because my mother's upset. She's crying. What has happened? And my heart is going beep, 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 beep. And so by that time, one of the nurses comes in and says, "Oh, she's awake. She's awake." So she runs back out. And I guess a couple of doctors who had been attending me come in and they're checking my vitals, blood pressure, putting a thermometer in my mouth. I mean, they're just doing everything like they got a live specimen, I guess. And then about 15 minutes later, uh, I asked what happened, and they explained to me that I had had a massive cardiac arrest, and that my heart had basically exploded from the X-rays that they did after death. Really? Wow. And how was I feeling? I'm feeling okay. Um, can you talk about what's what happened prior to? And I just told them that I was going to a friend's house, and that's all I remember. Um, and so by that time, the paramedics who had coded me dead on arrival, who had been at the house of my friends and had traveled to the hospital, went to the emergency room and backed up the ambulance and put me in the morgue. They had been there still after 5.5 hours. Now, I don't know how many hours it was, but it was over 7 or 9 hours that they had already been there. That was their last shift, and they were just refusing not to go. For some reason, they were perplexed be, beyond explanation. Maybe God kept them there. I have no idea, but those guys were still there. They eventually came into the room and they were telling me how they tried to put my hands down and they had to take me out of that ambulance with two sheets, one underneath my armpits from my waist down and then one over my shoulder over to my head. And what was I reaching for oxygen? And I said, "Oxygen? Oh no, I wasn't reaching for oxygen. I was reaching for Jesus." And they said, "Say again?" I said, "No, I saw Jesus. I was in heaven." And that started the story. So, I mean, I don't know how this happened because as I started to tell them what I saw, the room started filling up with different people. One would go out and three would come in. Two would go out and five would come in. That little room, they didn't even cut on the lights. It was just that light over my head, like I was on stage or something. I don't know. That room was filled up with people around my bed, standing in the background, listening to this story that I'm about to share with you about what I was experiencing on the other side in eternity, which is a different place than this planet. And as I was sharing the story about all that was going on, people were weeping. You know, people were, you could tell that they were taking it in, and they were weeping, just sobbing, not loudly, just, whimpering. Um, People were grabbing tissue that was on the little table that I did over in the inn by my bed. They were taking tissue and they were whatever, and they would say, "Go on, go on." And so I was telling them this story. What was I telling them? I told them this. And let me continue. I said, "No, I was in heaven with Jesus." And I said, "I wasn't reaching for oxygen. I was reaching for his hand." And I said, "And when I finally got his hand, we flew up and we went to heaven." And I said, "The first thing I remember, now I do know that heaven has different interests. And let me just preface this to saying, what I didn't know prior to this experience. But when you're in heaven, there is a knowing. It's like the air. You know what you never thought you would know, and you know it with implicity. You know it with without a shadow of a doubt. You know that you know that you know. As a matter of factly, you know. It's like all the knowing of the world is what you breathe in. And we didn't communicate with vocal cords. We talked last week about words, or a couple of weeks ago, last month, about the power of your voice. Well, there was no voice or vocal cords because my body was in the morgue. My body, this shell, was in the morgue. The real me, my spirit man, was out of my body and was in heaven. So there is no use to, there's no need for voice boxes. There's no need for the things that make this body work. It's a spiritual body and it's a different body. It has a glow about it. And so we went up to this gate, huge gate. Of course, Empire State Building tall gate, high compared to you standing on the street and looking up at the Empire State Building in New York City. That's about as graphic as I can give you on how tall that was. Wide, it was like a football field, or maybe two or three football fields wide. But you didn't feel like you were swallowed up in it. You just felt like it was home. You felt like uh, gigantic, out of the world size was normal. If I can use those words, it was normal. Everything in heaven is big. He owns it all. So there are no partitions on counties and communities, and everything in heaven is glorious. There's no space and no distance that he doesn't occupy. So we went through these gates, and Jesus was walking I was on his right, he was on my left, and we were walking, and he was saying, "I'm so excited that you're here." And I'm just smiling. And he said, "We've been waiting for you all day." And, my question, the thought is verbal. All day? Yes. The angels and we've been waiting for you all day. And then I said without words, I said, "I'm so happy to be here. I'm so happy to be home. I'm so happy to be home." It felt home. Uh, and let me just put a sidebar, and I hope you can follow me. Kids say, I speak to college kids all over the world, and I do that because they're the ones that think that they're invincible and they're going to do exactly what they plan to do. Give me 4 years and I'm going to conquer the world. Yeah, that's true. I believe it. However, you have kids that say, "I never asked to be here. I don't know. I just want to check out. I just want to, I don't even know why my mother had me. I don't even know why they got together. I don't want to be here." And I would say to them point blank, "You never asked to be here?" "Yes, you did." "No, I didn't." I said, "Yes, you did." I said, "In heaven, there's a place where the souls live before they're born." It's the truth. It is the truth. And Jesus will go in that room and he'll say, "I need somebody to do such and such on the earth." And you heard them. I heard them. These little lights, these glowing lights. And they were saying, "I'll go, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go, I'll go." And the next thing you know, he says nothing. I'm just observing with him in this room. One just shoot like a shooting star. And the next thing you know, you look down and that star, that soul, that life is in the womb of a mother. Even the mothers are chosen. It's not a random womb. It's not a random womb. They're chosen. They're part of the scenario of the purpose of that baby. They're part of that. And so when kids say, "Oh, I never asked to be here," I say, "Oh, yes, you did. Yes, you did. You asked to be here." So in doing the tour, it was like he was giving me a tour to welcome me to a new landscape. And we walked, and when we were walking on the grass, everything was alive. Colors, is there another word than vivid? Tell me. Colors were off the chain. There was no filters. There was no dimmers. Everything was bright and alive, light and life. That's one of the key things about heaven. Light, because He's light, and life. Everything is living. When you walked on the grass, imagine it. My feet are bare. And when you walk on the grass kind of folds back and yields to you for you to walk on it. And then when you walk past it, it springs back up. It yields to you walking on it. It bows back when you walk on it. And then after you press it down and you go to the next step, it gets back up. The water, there were so many waterfalls. I saw these floating mountains. Mountains that literally floated in the air with shrubbery, trees and root systems, and it was beautiful. The water, it's alive. How do you describe alive water? When we're walking through this meadow and the grass is just yielding under my feet, I'm just taking it all in. The mountains that are floating, just beautiful scenery, colors. The feeling that you feel is a welcoming, warm feeling, like this is home. Um, it's like if you've been away at college or you've been away overseas, the people who've been deployed and go off to service or to war or whatever, when they come home, certain smells, like their grandmother cooking chicken, or certain smells around the house, just lets them know this is home. That's what that felt like. This is home. The colors and the feeling that you're wrapped up in. And so we're walking, and then I looked over to my right, and you see this waterfall. I mean, but everything is huge, so waterfall's way up there somewhere, but it's cascading down. And when it's cascading down, I don't know how to describe it, but it was alive. It was moving like it had life to it. It wasn't just flowing and water splashing or spraying on you like you normally do here on the planet. It had a gracefulness. It had like this. It had a flow as it was flowing down. It was making itself known that I'm alive. I'm alive. It's marvelous. But what I wanted to share first off about heaven is about four things I want to share about this tour of heaven that lasted for me weeks, but maybe a few hours on the planet my body was. But I felt like I had been there for weeks. Was after we passed the waterfall and walked out through the meadow, came to these huge buildings that had golden walkways. The sidewalks are really gold, not gold like gold bars, gold that are translucent. You can see through it. You can see it was shiny, but you could see through it. It was translucent. I don't know how to describe that either, but I do the best that I can when I tell this story because my words just don't have the vocabulary to describe what's undescribable. But as we walked down these roads, they were all roads paved going to different buildings, and they were already marked out, roads that went to different buildings, the left and right and to the front. We kept walking to the front. And when we got to the front, there's this huge building. It looked like it was made from ivory, and it had different intricate designs on the wall and the doorway of this building. But what caught my eye was over to the right, there was gardens all around the building, in the front of the building, and Jesus was walking with me. And he was just walking with his hands behind his back. And he's just letting me just look around. And I'm just looking around and we're walking. He's not really talking at that point. He's just walking me as I'm walking with him. And he's watching me with glee, just smiling with a sense of pride, a sense of, yes, this is home and she's glad to be home, that sort of thing. And as if to say, yeah, there's some new things have been happening since you left. And so we're walking and I look and over to the right, we see the children, these little children, tending garden. And so we're going to get ready to go into the building, but I paused and I stopped because I wanted to see what they were doing. Their faces were happy. They were the happiest to be like that was the best assignment, the best job they could have ever had, to be able to plant these flowers. Now these flowers, of course, the colors were not like anything you see, like maybe you see in the tropical jungle. The colors are vivid in the tropical jungle sometimes. Um, but the flowers, uh, they moved when you touched them. When you did your hand like this, they would move underneath you. You know, you just do like that and they'd move. They just move. Everything was made known to be alive. Like everything that was alive showed itself to be alive with the life and the light of God. These children, I said, tell me about these. Who are these children? He said, oh, he said, these are the children that were aborted. These are the children that miscarried. These are the children that died at birth. And I said, but they're not babies. He said, oh no. He said, life grows, and so do they. He said, and watch this. So I looked back down at them, and they were like 2, 3, 5-year-old sizes. And one of them put their hand in this dirt and opened up a hole, and then took their hand and did like this, turned it face up, and did like this, and out of their hand flowed a seed. They didn't have a bag of seed. Out of their hand flowed the seed, and they placed it into the dirt. They covered it over, and it started to grow immediately. And I said, oh my Lord, how is that? And he said, they have that ability as they grow. They have the ability to cause things here in heaven to grow because they did not get an opportunity to do that on earth. So they have that opportunity here. I want to say to you, if you've had a miscarriage or for some reason an abortion, I just want you to know that there's resurrection life for your babies. No matter what happens, they're in heaven and they're growing. Yes, they're growing. They're growing. They're not blobs of matter. They're people, humans, life, and they're in heaven and they're growing. And I'm telling you, when you get to heaven, you will see them. You don't know what they look like, I guess, when they're 5 and 6 or 20 years old by the time you get to heaven, whatever age that is that they have developed until you get home. But they will know you. And immediately when you see them, you won't know how you know, but you will know that you know them. You know them. I've talked to many, many mothers and women who, for one reason or another, had to have an abortion or got an abortion. I've talked to many women who have had multiple abortions. And it didn't bother them then, but it started to bother them when they got older. They had questions on what happened, where are they, what if, what if, were their questions. What if? And when I share with them about these babies growing and being used in heaven to grow beautiful, beautiful things, and that they're waiting for their parent, their mother, the one whose womb they were in, It comforts them. And I'm saying to you, if you're one of those women, if you had a miscarriage, you lost a baby, or a baby died after birth, or your baby passed away after a period of time, your baby is alive and well and growing wonderful things in heaven while you're waiting, while they're waiting for you. I just want to say right now, Father, touch the hearts of those who have lost children for whatever the reason is. Comfort their hearts and let them know that there is life after death because there is no death in life of God. And I thank you, Father God, because your word says to be absent from the body is to be present with Jesus. And Lord, let these women know, let these fathers know that their babies are fine and they're well. Well, I'm going to stop here because my time is out, but we will continue again next week. And I'll talk to you about the warehouses and I'll talk to you about all the other things that I've seen. God's blessings upon you. Until next time. Bye.